Radiohead, head to head on the evening session.
It is Radiohead on the evening session, and we're in, and here they are. Although we're missing one member of Radiohead today. Phil's not here. Can you tell us why?
He's just had a baby.
Phil's a dad.
Yeah.
Just this morning. Yeah.
×2 now.
Yeah.
So that's why Phil's not here, but the rest of Radiohead are here for Head to Head. This is the concept. We've got lots of questions which came in, which you wanted to ask Radiohead. Some of them at the programme we did in Paris, others which have come in over the last month and a bit, because it has, so many things have happened since we last talked to you when we were in Paris. The story has unfolded quite well in a way. You did the gigs around the UK, and then #1 in America. How did that happen? Does anyone know?
No, I mean, least of all the American record company, I think, actually, or anybody involved over there.
It was a shock.
It must have been a quiet week.
Really?
That's what they claimed, yeah.
Everyone said, it must have been a quiet week.
It was a quiet week. Yeah.
And it was #1 in Britain as well, the same week, wasn't it?
As #1 in America.
Yes, and where else?
Canada, France. As you see, #1s mean nothing to us.
Nothing at all.
You're just collecting them.
Yeah, we just...
Is there anywhere we haven't been #1 that you'd like to be #1 in? What about the Dutch?
Spain.
Well, obviously everywhere else.
Spain, we were number 22.
Really?
Yeah.
The Spanish haven't got it?
Yeah.
Man, they just didn't get it.
They're more laid back though, aren't they?
Possibly.
I'm not sure if
Is that why, do you think? Maybe it just wasn't a quiet week in Spain.
Yeah.
So everything's happened, and we've got a bunch of questions.
That's a good point.
We've got a bunch of questions which we're going to get through, if we can, in the next half an hour. And what we're going to do, instead of myself asking the questions, we'll put all your questions in a bag. And so what we're going to do tonight is head-to-head, members of Radiohead interviewing each other. And for starters, we can hand you over to Jonny. Take the question, and you can either answer it yourself or you can nominate somebody else to answer it for you. All these questions are from listeners,
okay.
apart from a couple of curveballs. Right. Not allowed to look. Here we go. Question 1.
It's from David in Oxford. He wants to be anonymous.
Johnny.
The plug. Ed, what football team do you support?
That's an easy one.
And would you consider investing in Oxford?
First question, I'm an Oxford Red, so I'm a Manchester United supporter. And would I invest in Oxford?
Who are, as we record this, bottom of the second division?
Exactly, on, what is it, something like 7 points.
It's not very many.
It wouldn't be a wise investment, so probably not.
What, you treat it purely on a financial level?
Well, Oxford United, yeah.
And do you go to Manchester United matches?
Yeah, I went to the last game I went to the derby at Main Road a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And nearly got my head bitten off.
Do you have the usual criticism levelled at you?
Of course, I'm past that. I've done it. I was, it was a Damascene conversion when I was at college in Manchester. Walked up the steps of the Stretford End, and United playing Chelsea, we lost 2-1. Never looked back.
Thom, before you fall asleep after the after the football moment. Next question.
All right, Jonny. There doesn't seem to be much guitars on the album. Do you think guitar rock is dead? Can you think of any examples of people who might be able to bring it back to life? Roddy Murray from Brighton. Come on, rock god.
Squirm. I'm squirming instead of answering. It's such a traditional and established thing to do and an instrument to play. It's like, it's too old-fashioned. It's like people saying, you're going to revolutionise anything, piano playing or Morris dancing or whatever. It's not exciting for those reasons. For the image of playing a guitar, that's not what's exciting.
Do you think it changes with different generations, though? Maybe one of the reasons we ask this question is that we've been stuck in a sort of retro chic for a while. That we're always looking backwards now, and that for somebody who can, who has just picked up a guitar and learnt it, it's still the most exciting.
Yes, and they say every 8 years you always have this thing, the guitar is dead. And it was, I remember the same thing in about 1980, 81, people, all these synthesizers, they were sounding great, and people said the same thing, it was dead. And it's, we're old bastards, some 16-year-olds who maybe has been into just DJing and decks and stuff like that might pick up a guitar and it'd be, the thing that they look great in the bedroom mirror with it, and all that stuff.
I thought the point about the reason that pick up electric guitar is you can get a really great sound out of it fairly quickly. The point being now, of course, that there's lots of other instruments that you can buy for the same price that are purely electronic that make just as good sounds.
We'll take another question, and then we'll play a bit of music. Colin?
Ooh. Oh dear, this has got sort of it's quite strict. It's a bit like a note from the headmaster. You approached the marketing and production of Kid A in a fairly unorthodox way, Jonny. Did you get the support you needed, and how did the people around you feel about it? And that question's from Keith Wozencroft, the man who signed you at Parlophone Records.
Told you there was a couple of curveballs in there.
Yeah.
That's a question from Keith.
So explain yourself.
Did you get the support you needed, and how did the people around you feel about it?
Given your unorthodox way of marketing the last record.
Yeah, it was only unorthodox because, you know, there are no singles on the record anyway, and videos are sort of embarrassing things to make and be in when you have to mime and all that kind. It happened by a series of. There was no grand decision to sit down and market it in a completely different way. It was just one thing followed from another really. But everybody, especially Keith, have been embarrassingly understanding with it all.
So Keith, if you're listening, it's okay. It's all right. So no cause to lose sleep just yet. Okay, let's play a piece of music, and then we're back with Radiohead Head to Head. It's the evening session from Radio 1. It's the evening session, and we are at Courtyard Studios just outside of Oxford in one of the attic rooms. You can probably hear the rain coming down. Excuse me? This is like an English lesson, and every time a question comes out of the bag, somebody looks up and everyone else looks down. Don't ask me to read. I'm not any good at it. Radiohead asking questions of each other. Well, these are questions which you sent in, and it's your turn, Jonny.
Bit of a weird one. I sort of could ask myself really. I hope it doesn't sound too smoke. Have you ever walked out of a gig or rehearsal or recording session from Simone in Paris? And I don't think any of us have we?
Walked
out of either a gig or a rehearsal or recording session.
Walk out?
Yeah.
Have you ever
Have we ever?
No.
Stormed out in a huff?
And we never have, in your book.
We sometimes said today is going rubbish, let's just give up.
Let's go home and have a cup of tea, but...
Tom, are you disagreeing?
Oh, no, well, it depends on how you define storming out, really. I guess if we all storm out at once, there's no storming out involved.
We storm in, though. We keep the storm in.
Hey?
We don't storm out.
Really?
The thing is, when everyone gets in a huff, they stay in. They don't go.
Yeah?
But yeah, well, they should storm out.
Yeah.
All right. So we should do, what you're saying is we should do...
We should storm out, but we actually storm in.
Right.
That makes it sound like a relationship where you never really properly talk to each other.
I did try to get out.
Does all this stuff simmer under the surface?
No, not really. No, it's kind of, we're too old for that now. So
I did try to get out of the NEC when we played there, but I couldn't get a train. They were coming in, they weren't going out.
What, you wanted to leave? What, before you went on?
Check.
Yeah, before we went on.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Did you just...
I was having a bad day, you know.
I don't think I can
reaction.
really answer that. I was just having a bad day as it goes. Tom, it's your turn. Pick a question.
This is from Catherine Hart, which is a nice name. Will you eventually all go and do solo albums? And which one will be the best?
Colin?
what?
You're nominated.
Am I?
Will you eventually?
Will you eventually?
Will we go with
Solo records.
There has been a record. So what's the title of that record?
Your Wind in My Hair.
Yeah. Colin's
It's a
Space Opus.
collection of that variation on the old Spinal Tap acoustic numbers with the St Winifred's School Orchestra.
Or My Wind in Your Hair, was it?
Yeah, we can't get the syntax quite right,
No.
but we're going to leave that to the sort of the post-production stage.
Change it in Pro Tools.
It's amazing what you can do. Anyway, no, I don't know really. I mean, that's such a Spinal Tap 70s rock thing.
And you also run the risk, obviously, with the solo thing, that somebody's going to end up like the bass player from the Jam or something. How do you stand on a stage? Who else do you play with? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Ed, you're laughing, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, when you come to make the solo record.
Yeah, but
What do you move's going to be?
I mean, the thing is that a lot of that stuff as well is, I mean, maybe we have it, but it's the old vanity thing, you know. I mean, that whole thing of 40 and having done all that and still the need to go up on stage, and I don't know, I think it's a bit...
Less than 10 years away.
Yeah, exactly, still probably be there, you know.
You could be on the road, the last original member of Radiohead on tour.
The original Radiohead featuring Colin Greenwood and Ed O'Brien. You can take lead vocal duties.
Playing at the Apollo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's have another question.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Again. Right, okay. Ed, have you been to any gigs this year? And who has excited you live? And have you ripped off any ideas? And that's from Nicole in London.
Okay, probably an easy one. Been to 2 brilliant gigs this year. One of them was was a band called Madrideus at Barbican, which was amazing in the summer. They hadn't played it. But the other great gig was ADF, Asian Dub Foundation. They only did a 40-minute set. It was that Radio1 thing. It was part of... You were comparing, I think.
Yeah, there was...
I was standing right next to the bass bin. It was Ulu.
Ulu, yeah.
And just got the full effect of Dr. Daz's bass, and it was brilliant. Live-wise, I think they're the best live band in the world by a long way.
Oh, I can remember that Ulu gig is that you get prodded by a live engineer, producer person who says, go on, we're about to go and introduce them on stage. And as I walked out, they just started, even before I'd actually managed to get out into the middle of the stage.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, live on Radio 1, ADF, they'd already started.
Yeah.
So I started having to shout over the top. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, it's Asian Dub Foundation on Radio 1.
And we all shouting, piss off, get off, listen to the music.
Skinny bloke, come on with the music. Let's play some. Why not? Hey, Asian Dub Foundation on Radio 1. We're back with Radiohead after this. You are listening to the evening session, head to head, Radiohead, asking some of your questions, answering some of your questions tonight. Whose turn is it? Jonny.
Okay, I'm going to ask this to Thom. It's from Mark in Sydney.
In Sydney,
Sydney,
if you
Australia.
will. This is obviously one of our listeners over the internet.
What's the most amazing venue you've ever played?
It was probably Fréjus in the south of France, don't you know? That was really good, really, really good. And
What's it like, this place? You have to explain it. I've never
It was
been.
about 3,000 people. It was a Roman amphitheatre, and everybody was around. But I could sort of see absolutely every single person in the gig.
It's not used as a ball ring.
Yeah.
It is. I've been there.
Really?
Astonishing. Yeah.
It's really, really amazing place to play.
Do you prefer to see the whites of people's eyes then? Or do you prefer to pick out the audience? Or is that actually more scary? Or do you feel that's actually more personal? We're all looking at you, Jonny, so we might as well answer.
Johnny's like...
I keep my head down.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, look up.
What about the other way? Do you ever get stuck looking at people? Or are you too wrapped up in stuff?
What do you mean by that?
You go on a stage, and sometimes it's happened to me when I've gone on and introduced bands, and you just see someone gesticulating at you, and you can't look away from this person.
Well, that's great. I love that. Like when I get to do my wandering stuff, I've really, really got into just walking around, just looking at people, making no attempt to perform in any way at all, just looking at them. And sometimes you get stuck on somebody and you just look at them, and it takes them quite a while to figure out that you're staring at them, and then to see what the reaction is. Brilliant. Sometimes people just don't give a shit. They're like, what?
You're looking at me? You're looking at me?
And sometimes they sort of like look away, and sometimes they make rude signs or whatever. It's brilliant.
I suppose it's a bit odd. Do they look around over their shoulder going,
it's so much better than like I'd love to be able to do it walking down the street, but you can't really stare at people when you walk down the street, although I do tend to. You sort of get away with it when you're on the stage. They can't really answer back. It's brilliant.
Everything you can't do on a tube train.
Exactly that.
Really? Let's have another question.
Thom.
Is it?
And it's right at the
It's
bottom.
this one.
And it is.
Oh dear, no. Alright then, yeah, it's good to answer this. Alison Sampson from Liverpool. I'll answer this because it might take long. Who is Kid A? Is it Leo Blair, as you dedicated the album to Leo? No. Phil's first son is called Leo. That's why. Kid A was nothing to do with that at all. Kid A was supposed to be... It started off as complete nonsense, but I think it was interesting. I think it ended up being something to do with the idea that we're giving birth to the life form that's going to inherit the earth when we wipe it out in 50 years.
Is that something that you thought of afterwards? Or is that something
it's something
developing
I've thought about
theory?
Quite a lot. But it was some insane conversation I had with someone once about artificial intelligence. I had real trouble when the year 1999 came around, much more so than like the year 2000. I don't know about anybody else, but I had a real problem with that when it became 1999.
Why?
Don't know, got no idea, but it just really, when the last millennium occurred, people really, really freaked out. There was like mass suicides, and it was a genuinely enormous thing. And when it happened this time, everyone got kind of like nervous when the year 2000 came around, and everybody focused it towards the millennium. But I think there was a lot of other stuff as well that people tried to sort of forget about. And I think Kid A, for me, was a lot of that stuff got involved in music. For me, there was a lot of apocalyptic imagery going on in my head, and I couldn't get rid of it. And it was nothing to do with like anything deliberate. It was literally I couldn't get it. I couldn't get rid of it.
And so, what the way to make sense of it
is always to put it into work. Can't help that really.
Well, no, that's what we probably do. Partly why you do this job, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, one more and another bit of music, I think.
Colchester United versus Oxford. Have you ever been jealous of another member of the band? Colin.
Jealous of another member of the band? What? I mean,
Have you ever been jealous?
Well, I mean, Ed and I, you know, we used to share a room together for
it's
years.
gonna happen.
When we were, you know, before we could like, you know, make the break and have our own rooms when we were on tour, you know, and we, you know, so I was often quite sort of, you know, pedantic. He's
got this really peculiar image in my head right now.
There's different answers. There's like the, you know, but I mean, there's a difference between the word jealous and envious that often gets confused in language.
He's just
like
Brilliant. Slides.
really winds me up. I think what they mean is envious. They don't mean jealous, because jealous means something else, like, you know, to do with
That's such a mega avoidance of the
and
question.
envious is like resenting something for something that someone else has, whilst jealous is when you resent someone because you feel that they have something that you should be having.
Do you have any specific examples?
Envy.
I always thought like Ed like, had a very nice line of sort of a certain brand of soap, and sort of, you know, he had a nice wash back, you know, in the bathroom we shared, and he always seemed to have like the nicer sort of tasting toothpaste and stuff like that, and you know, it generally sort of better things like that, you know. But, I don't know. I can't say.
answer.
No, you know. Hey,
Did I hear you're such a liar coming from another corner of the
I
room?
copied you on the soap front.
yeah.
Anyway.
We have another question.
Yes,
Yeah,
another
let's
question.
move on.
Can't end on that one. Bloody hell.
No.
It's Colin.
This is a good one. If Tom, if you made an album totally for yourselves, accepting that lots of fans wouldn't like it, and the result was a #1 here and in America, are you starting to wonder what you have to do to get rid of unwanted attention? And that's from Paul in Belfast. Just how far are you prepared to go?
I'll take a deep breath before
Yeah.
this one. I think it was really weird that everybody was sort of saying that we were deliberately being difficult, or whatever it was. I thought it actually sort of kind of freaked me out a bit, really. But I think basically what it is, right? We just moved on and decided to do something else. And if writing and being a creative person, or like if being in a band is about supply and demand, you know, where you ask for, people ask you to produce something to supply the demand for that certain thing, and you do it and everybody's happy, or do you just move on and do whatever turns you on at the time, you know? And issues about like trying to piss people off or alienate fans is like, the only people that we've ever met who ever ask us those questions are people in the press.
I met this bloke in the supermarket actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, called Mark, who said he like just couldn't get on with the album, and he was a big fan.
Oh, well, you know.
I told him to listen to it again anyway.
Well, at least you're nice to him.
Slap.
Yeah, completely. Why not?
But it's that term willfully perverse that kept on coming round. It's like, hey, hang on a sec. you know.
We can do you willfully perverse if you like. We're quite happy to do that if that's what you want. I mean, if we're talking about supply and demand here, we will supply you with that. But you know, get a grip.
I mean,
it ain't bloody rocket science, is it? Really?
No.
I think there's one or two more questions left at the bottom of the bag, which we'll do on the evening session with Radiohead tonight after this.
On the evening session.
This is Steve Lamacq with Radiohead answering some of your questions tonight. Before we go any further though, there's something interesting which you were just saying about people being linked to nostalgia. And I was thinking as we were driving down here today that one of the things which almost, although there's been a lot of great music made this year, is almost that we've been in this, I think maybe it's a media invented thing, this, but we've been suffering from this sort of millennium hangover of the need to make lists and look back to the past. And it's something which I think we had last November, December, and has run through all of this year, where we've had magazines now almost obsessed by the top 10 this, the greatest this of all time. But there's been one or two points in this year where we've started seeing what will happen next year, and we've almost got this kind of retro thing out of our system now, which makes your album almost one of the major points, because it's a standalone record which didn't necessarily access anything you'd done before. It was a new beginning. It's not linked particularly to anything, which to some people was willfully perverse, but for others is a brand new start, a different sort of place to go.
That's a strange feeling, really, because I would say that it's, for us, it's fairly obvious where it links from, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know, we can see that in the 2 years that we're in the studio, we can see how things progress, and that's always the thing about being in a band. We can see the path through it, but other people don't see that, do they? And this is one of the things that one of the problems about making records every 2 or 3 years, that we see the thread, but other people don't, and often the link before that has been B-sides. And this is why hopefully we're going to get out that thing, that it'll be a bit more apparent what we're doing.
Is this why you wanted to make had enough material to make another record, or is this why you wanted to get another record out quicker?
No, I think in order to move on, what we had to do was basically go off in lots of different directions. This is the way I saw it afterwards, and really try things out, like sort of getting into loosening up and trying things out, which we weren't particularly good at. It was quite a struggle, because we're sort of, when we started to think, still basically, let's just go and do this live, rehearse it, record it, that's it. And by the end, I think we sort of figured out different ways of working, and we did that by going off in lots of wild directions. And what happened was that there's a certain set of things that formed themselves very quickly, which was Kid.
From a Steve Lamacq in Kennington.
Oh, right, that's mine.
Can you recommend a bottle of agreeable red wine I can give John Peel for Christmas?
We were having this very conversation about the same thing, because we were just sort of organising a sort of little Christmas party for all our mates who been working with us over the past year. So and we were thinking about what wine we sort of the Blue Nun or the Leaf Brown to get everyone.
Definitely the Leaf Brown.
Johnny's very fond of the Black Tower, isn't it? Is that screw top one?
Anything screw top is my vote.
But those are all white, so we have to choose a red.
A red.
John Peel.
Yeah,
a red for John Peel, and agreeable, a nice agreeable
Spanish.
red.
That's what our conclusion was, a Spanish. A Ribera del Duero.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, thank you very much for that tip. The album will come when? Next year?
Is it April? Is it April?
Yeah.
Early April.
Early April? Yeah.
Depends on how soon we get it together. I mean, we kind of got it together now. So then.
But the wheels are in motion, everything's turning along, the ideas
huge,
are all
great
there.
big cogs, yeah, definitely in motion. Yeah, definitely.
And on that cheeky smile from Thom, thank you very much, Radiohead.
Thanks a lot.
For talking to us and for answering all the questions. It's Radiohead on the evening session.